Hello everyone, welcome back. I hope this goes better technically than the last time, also in content wise. But first of all, let me just say this. I need to rant about this. Yeah, I'm sure you often heard these discussions between either management should be private or public of many things, education, health, focusing on health. Let me say just one thing. Health can never, should never be private. For the simple reason is that a private business, what is his goal? His goal is to make profit. A private business, if you build a private enterprise that provides a service to customers, you want to increase the number of customers that you have. And so goes same way. If you have a private hospital or clinic, you want more and more people to go to your clinic. So how does that fit in the whole goal of healthcare? It doesn't. Your objective will be to prolong the treatments, not to cure, not to get it over with one or two times or quick as possible. So yeah, it's shit that this kind of governments in Western democracies are following more the US example. You know that the US has a very shitty healthcare. I mean, the poorer you are, the more distance you are from the quality healthcare, and it gets to the point where even shitty healthcare it's expensive, or simple medicines are expensive. And so the thing is, I don't want to like create a big discussion here about this or anything, because it's pretty clear to me that this has no discussion. But the thing is that every time this comes to public discussion, the pro-private thing always advocate for, no, people have to have freedom of choice. It's all about freedom of choice. If you have multiple clinics, people will choose the best clinic. Well, reality clashes with that, because what happens is they screw up the public health service in place. They make it shitty and more shitty, and then they start to make contracts with public hospitals to cover the holes that this cannot cover anymore, and at the end they will get the share of the market. And it's interesting how they only want things that are profitable. Normally, if you really have a serious ailment, for example in Portugal where I am, they ship you off immediately to public hospital. They don't want to deal with you. Too expensive to deal with. And so yeah, it's a killing industry. It's not a health industry. And the politicians that advocate for this, at least if they would be transparent about it. Okay, we just want to make money because this is profitable. And why is it profitable? Because people need it. It's basic care. It's like food. You need it. And so you are hostage of your needs, and they capitalize on it. They get richer with your needs and with your ailments and with your problems. And at the end, the services, of course, it all begins to change because they say private is better run, is better managed, and it's all crap. It's all crap. At the end, it will be expensive and even crappier than the public service. So yeah, I had to say this. I had this experience this morning, and I'm living through this process here in Portugal where we see the government very in a subtle way, destroying the healthcare system and give the advantage to the private care system. And of course, once these grab the monopoly on this, then it's done. Then they increase price tenfold, 100-fold, 1,000-fold, whatever. And yeah, I mean, so should never be, and there's no discussion about it. Go and give me the bullshit of the freedom. It's utter bullshit because it doesn't work that way. Simply, no example. Unless everybody's rich or everybody has the same income, which we know when this kind of things and this kind of economic thinking goes on, that's exactly the opposite. So they're actually admitting that there are people that do not deserve to live or do not deserve to have a life with quality, and the others, because they have money, either because they were ingenious in getting that money or because they were already born rich. I mean, they deserve the all. Okay, it's been too long about this ranting about healthcare. This is none of this I wanted to talk about. Forgive me for that, but if you want to give your opinion on that, be welcome to read it in the comments, in the section comments. So let's move on. The other day I had a pretty rough time with with my phone filming. The image started stuttering and the sounds went off, and so I want to talk about the aid given to Ukraine. You know that Zelensky went to Spain. Again, the Portuguese president went to lick his boots because last time he was supposed to come to Portugal, he didn't come. And now, today was on the Portuguese news that Portuguese President Marcelo was arranging a date with Zelensky to come to Portugal. I'll tell you why Zelensky doesn't lose much time coming to Portugal. Portugal doesn't fill his begging bowl. Simply as that. When I talk about relevancy, it's this what I mean. Portugal is a beautiful country. I'm very proud of it. I wouldn't be any other nationality, but when I say it's insignificant or irrelevant, it's not to offend, of course, my fellow Portuguese. It's to say that its projected power in the world is very meager. It's little. It cannot influence. It doesn't have the capacity to influence other countries anymore. This is what I mean. Okay, yeah. So, and everyone is promising to continue the aid to Zelensky. I mean, the European Union is talking about if Ukraine gets in the EU, they will be able to provide a package to Ukraine among all the programs, the funding programs that the EU has, cohesion funds and whatnot, agriculture. They will be able to deliver a package distributed by several years of almost 200 billion euros. And it's also claimed that this will change the way that other countries are financed in the European Union. So this would cause a lot of problems to other countries. For example, the European Union heavily subsidizes its agriculture, and it would start to heavily subsidize Ukraine's agriculture. Of course, this has a very simple explanation. It has nothing to do with solidarity with Ukraine. It has to do with big companies. Go look for them that invest in in Ukraine. Sorry, and it has to do with all the lobbies in place. As I mean, that's actually the reason this war still continues, because companies are profiting, and all the aid given to Ukraine, it's not really given to Ukraine. It just goes through Ukraine back to the pockets of weapons dealers and whatnot. That's actually the reality, the rude, crude reality about the aid to Ukraine. It has nothing to do with Ukrainians. The EU, the US, they don't care about Ukraine. I've mentioned and stated this, and I will continue to state it because it is an undeniable fact. Ukrainians are dying. They are, I mean, their society, corrupt as it is also very stratified, and so you have a lot of poor, and then you have the elite with more money, the ones that can dodge the draft, and the ones that cannot dodge the draft are the ones suffering: the poor families, the vulnerable families, the Eastern families. And yeah, this is the scenario. So Fico will eventually form a coalition and rule Slovakia. It doesn't. If he promises his campaign, if he fulfills his campaign promises, aid to Ukraine will stop. We know that this is like rather insignificant, but and some people might view Fico either pro-Russian or anti-NATO or whatever. No, I think Fico is just being reasonable, same as Orban. Fico knows where he stands. Fico understands the nature of the game. He understands his neighbors most of all, and he understands that all this ordeal about Ukraine, it's simply because they are serving the US's needs, the US's interests, and the Europeans are paying a heavy bill, are going to pay a heavy bill. This is no doubt about it. Meanwhile, everyone is saber rattling in their public speeches. I mean, I mentioned this Andrei Kovachev, this Bulgarian MP, that stated in his Twitter that EU should take the chance, and because Russia is weak, and so should take the should seize the opportunity in Armenia. We know how that's going to go. And of course, economy is going to play a big role in all of this, because now now the Germany's economy. I was watching this interview, this talk show in Deutsche Welle, this news outlet, German news outlet, and they're talking about, of course, the Germany economy's downfall. It's going down. It's everyone expected this. I mean, not really everyone, but mainly the alt media. For example, the guys at the Duran were excellent in exploiting this subject, going in detail about it, and I mean, only a fool would look at that and say and state that it was Russian propaganda, because now we are seeing what's happening. It was a simple logic deduction. Your economy is a productive one. Production is profitable when you rely on good, cheap energy, and they lost that. They lost that, and now they keep saying that the German crisis. It's funny how they put the narrative. German economic crisis is due to the dependence, to the mistakes of the past, the excessive dependence on Russian energy. No, it's not. The crisis not that now, it's self-inflicted. I remind you that it wasn't Russia that cut the umbilical cord. It was the West, and it keeps doing it and raising that flag and advocating for and this clean energy to substitute. But the thing is, this is okay. You can have clean energy. Yeah, there is a lot of technology to produce energy from renewables, but this raises so many problems. And people who know the technical details, they know this. I mean, engineers and people who work in the field, they know that this energy, at least for now, will not be able to replace the cheap energy from Russia. I mean, and that's why Germany had to resort to coal. Coal, this centuries-old way of producing energy, coal, of all things, the dirtiest of them all. And they have a Green Party in their coalition. Imagine if they haven't. Well, we know how the Green Party goes. It's against nature, this Green Party of Germany. But anyway, still about the aid of Ukraine. You know that there are cracks appearing not only in the European Union, like with the election in Slovakia, also Morawiecki in Poland also gave statements about cutting the military aid to Ukraine. Hungarian Prime Minister Orban, we all know how it goes. We all know his opinion. I've talked, and many have talked about this, and I advise you to watch his interviews. But the question for me is that the US just in this last budget agreement didn't contemplate any aid to Ukraine. But forgive me, I don't believe it. Let me put it this way: I simply do not believe that the US is is um, is going to just cut loose Project Ukraine. Project Ukraine is too valuable. It's not going. This is where I disagree with, for example, the theories put forward by the Duran. I don't think Project Ukraine is going down. I think it's going to be alive with more power or less power, but it's going to be alive for a long time. The talks about deterring China now. It's not about beating Russia anymore. It's not about going to the Black Sea anymore. Just just think about it. All that narrative suddenly felt when this counteroffensive began to crumble. Suddenly, it's not about reaching the Black Sea anymore. Not about cutting the front line in half. None of that is possible, and we all know it. It's just prolonging the suffering. That's all. Ukraine is a tool. And so, yeah, Morawiecki in Poland. I mean, Poland has been the ardent supporter of Ukraine, but on the run-up to a general election, he said that he pledged to halt military supply to Ukraine. In the meanwhile, getting back to Zelensky, I'm going back and forth with the begging ball. Today was all over the news. I mean, when I see the Portuguese news, it's the mirror of CNN, New York Times, Washington Post, all those. They just parrot those narratives, and so it's pretty much what is going on in foreign news as well. And Zelensky asks for an umbrella for the winter. An umbrella. Zelensky asks for an umbrella. So what it means is that, of course, he's claiming now that Russia will take advantage of the winter and might again attack the electrical energy infrastructure. And but of course, we know this is not the reason why Zelensky is asking for this. He's asking because it's now it's settled that it's the nature of the game. He has to keep on asking. That's his role. Ask and justify and do this very sorrow face and like the beggar on the street, which annoys me, by the way. I mean, the the man is dooming his country. I also know that he would be if he would be replaced, things wouldn't change much. By now, you know that I'm a fan of the Atlantic coast. Well, I don't have many choices. It's where I live. I don't live in big urban centers, and so this is the beauty I have to show. Yeah, let me see what I do have here more. For example, about, as we're talking about economy, you know Jeffrey Sachs. Many of you know him. He's the voice of reason, as far as I'm concerned. Is the director of the Center for Sustainable Development at Columbia University. And he says that the dollar-dominated financial system is coming to an end. This can be expected in the next decades. Although I am nowhere near of challenging this man's opinion. But, I mean, not even to start with. I mean, I'm not an expert at all, by all means. But still, I think in the next decade, this, if you allow this humble opinion, not an expert at all. But for what I see, I think it will take more than 1 decade. Unless, of course, I'm a complete idiot and Jeffrey Sachs is the expert and he is right. And that's probably the right thing, probably the right prediction, right? But I still think it's strange because so many people rely on the dollar for their financial safety throughout the world. I mean, as many people have unstable currencies in places where they live, they have to resort to the dollar because they know that the dollar maintains a price and it's worldwide recognized and accepted. Not to say that, of course, it's been shaking. We know this. We know that bilateral, for example, agreements have been made in local currencies, but this is far from the dollar just vanishing. Okay, this is dealings between states and major dealings. I will believe it though if the dollar starts to lose value. I mean, in a way, like I remember the first Iraq war, dollar was losing a lot of value. If it goes to that trend, I might start to believe. In the meantime, okay, there is something being built to counter it, something very solid, something I do believe in, something I do hope it comes into fruition. The BRICS alliance, I hope these countries inside this alliance settle their disputes. And the multipolar world becomes a reality. Well, it's already becoming a reality, but de facto reality. Just hope it doesn't come to a nuclear exchange. That would be quite uncomfortable. And so, yeah. Look, I know that the Ukrainian offensive has been waning, but they're also far from defeated. And this all can only mean one thing, is that they keep being supported by Western powers. And one mistake that I see many pro-Russian channels do, I know why they do it. They do it deliberately. But it is to be over-optimistic. And if you read Sun Tzu, you should never underestimate your opponent. If you want to know my opinion, is that, of course, never underestimate. I'm not eager to see a catastrophe on neither side, but I do wish this war would end. For many other reasons other than the war. Also some selfish and local reasons because now every politician is giving this excuse for every problem. When we ask for accountability, they respond with, "Ah, but there's a Ukrainian war." So every problem is to be blamed on Ukrainian war, and of course it's Russia's fault. And now they can get away with pretty much all the economic shit they were doing before, and now they can do it even more. And they can make up for all the mistakes they do with this discourse. Don't fall from it. Don't fall for it. Not from it, for it. But one thing Jeffrey Sachs states is that, and I think this is a big factor. Of all I've said, this can be a factor for the dollar destabilization, is that the US is being abusing the power of the dollar. Because before it was advantageous for countries to use the dollar as reserve currency. But once you have a US official going there and threatening you and threatening your family and conditioning, making conditions and trying to run your country for you on behalf of their own interests, this is not. Countries have to think about this. That this is not the freedom they fought. The free market, it's suddenly controlled by an entity. We've seen this with Russia now, many examples, and with China as well. In the, this witch von der Leyen, she, when she was talking about to China to be an uneven competitor, I mean, China just playing by the neoliberal rules outside of their borders. What do you expect? This is like those kids that play a game but they bend the rules as they go along because it doesn't suit them. They see that they are losing. It's very convenient for them in the beginning, but then someone else understands what they're doing. Some other kid, some other smart kid understands and uses this against them, and suddenly they want to change it. This is the behavior of external policy for European Union. I mean, the United States, I'm not surprised. They've been doing this since their expansion inside their own territory. I mean, all the deals they've done with the Indians, just to break them afterwards, doesn't, for of course, for economic, financial reasons, lobbies, same shit, same story. Yeah, well, yeah, this is, see if I have, also Deutsche Welle, one last topic. Deutsche Welle has made a piece on Ukrainians fleeing to dodge the draft. And in this piece, it's stated that Ukraine is running out of volunteers. And all those people that were willing to fight in the beginning, many of them are dead, maimed, missing, whatever. And now they have to rely heavily on conscription. And you know that in Ukraine, a lot of people dodge conscription. That is, they even created a business for dodging conscription. You can go to certain Telegram channels and you have the menu there, the prices that you pay to dodge conscription, and they pass you a document. Most of the times it's health issues, so you are not drafted. But the siege is being tightened. Or they have arrested many of these officials, but corruption goes on nevertheless. But many try to run to Romania through the border. This is an interesting piece to watch. Of course, at the end they have to do their pro-Western bit, but nevertheless they disclose interesting information about this, because this was also a big piece of propaganda utilized by the West when addressing the Russians. That all the Russians wanted to dodge draft, and no Russian wanted to fight, and all this. another one of those narratives that is not, that was lost, you know, the shovel narrative, the demoralization narrative. The other day I saw the crappy military material narrative again. Don't forget Ukraine had the same material. And now it began to fight in large scale with Western material, and look at the result. Look at the result. I mean, go ask the militaries on the ground. They tell you. They have already given a lot of interviews on both sides talking about this material. And so yeah, Deutsche Welle was talking about this. Tens of thousands of Ukrainian young men don't want to go to war. And there was even one that showed his face on camera, and it was saying, it was this tattoo guy, tattoo professional. And he was saying, I do support my army, but I don't want to fight. I mean, if you understand, of course, not every people is set out to fight. It's a very hard thing, hard to imagine what you have to endure in a frontline battlefield like that one. And I'm not surprised. And I don't mock the people that dodge this draft. I don't mock them. They don't feel able to fight. I even think that the army, I mean, the guy even says that I do support my country, I do love my country, but it's not worth to be without a limb or lose your life for it. He says he would rather lose his homeland than lose his life. This is very important and significant statement, because I believe that this is the, if you survey most Europeans nowadays, this would be the answer. If they suddenly have their life at risk, they will abandon their homeland. I mean, in Portugal, in the 70s, 60s, and the 70s, many did to dodge the draft to the war in Africa. That lasted since 61 till 74. So, and it's no surprise. I mean, who can blame? Some people are cut out to fight, warriors. Some people are cut out. Everyone is cut out is made for each own thing. And not everyone can be a fighter, especially in conditions like that. Of course, our friends, the Americans, have been giving this very good examples when they were, for 2 decades, just bombing goat herders and poor countries and terrorizing people in these poor countries. They made it look easy. But this is different. And at the end, the piece in Deutsche Welle ended up with but of course, in the context of the country with 40 million people, tens of thousands is nothing. So, there it is. Tens of thousands is nothing. Of course, the country is no longer 40 million people. Don't forget that. Go search for the numbers. Before the war, millions fled to Russia. Even during the war, many have chosen to flee to Russia. And millions more are abroad in Western countries, trying to live a luxury life, some of them. Okay, that's all I have for today. Sorry about that ranting about healthcare in the beginning. I'll have this, I mean, I have a very erratic trend. I never know what I feel like talking about, besides the geopolitics. And today, yeah, you have this. The town I am in today is called Sines. Very nice town. Has an industrial hub that provides jobs. By the way, sometimes Russian ships come and deliver LNG. Just a curiosity fact. Okay, bye bye. See you next time. Please support this channel. Please. I mean, This makes no money, but I do need to get better gear for this. I'm using like my own phone and this shitty mic. I need a little bit, just a little bit, not too much, not too fancy. And eventually, at some point, I will have to ask for your help, but not for now. For now, just subscribe if you like to, if you are fond of listening to me ranting about shit, about everything and nothing. Doesn't cost anything to subscribe. Bye bye.